In which circumstances did you go back to work on this album, on a new album?
It was like sort of time. It was just natural. I think for me it was like I finished and promoted for a little while my solo album Hourglass, and I kind of made a decision during that promotion really that I wasn't going to tour with the record. And I think that was really because I knew Martin had been writing a lot of songs, and I was sort of eager to hear what he'd been doing, and kind of felt really prolific at the time as well in that a lot of ideas were coming to me about songs and stuff. So although it would have been fun to put my band again, my solo band together again and go on tour, there was a lot of other reasons too, sort of personal stuff at home, with my kids and stuff, which I didn't really want to spend another sort of few months away on the road, knowing that probably what was going to come next was a Depeche record, and the energy that sort of goes and the time that goes into making a Depeche record is very different to the time that goes into me making a solo record, or had so far. So there's a lot of like planning and stuff. So getting together with Martin in the early part of last year and listening to some of the songs that he'd written, I was keen to get in the studio really. So, and I knew that, you know, and I had some songs demoed as well. So I played those to Martin, and he seemed very keen to get recording.
You recorded this album in New York and Santa Barbara. Was the work atmosphere really different in these two places? Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, once you're in the studio, there's an argument that would say, you know, a studio's a studio, but I don't actually agree with that. You know, a lot of people say it, but, and I used to say it a lot too, but there is something about working in New York that I really like. It's about the energy of the city, I think, propels everybody into somehow getting more creative and working hard. I feel like we did the best work on this record in New York. The other guys might say something different, but I don't really care. But I find Santa Barbara is a beautiful, fantastic, awesome place. But to work, I found it mind-numbingly boring.
Too beautiful and too fantastic to make music?
Yeah, maybe. Unless you're the Beach Boys or something.
In Santa Barbara, your studio was next to the Barack Obama headquarters, is it true?
Yeah, right next door, yeah.
Did it have an influence or something like that? Or
well, the whole campaign had an influence, I think, on, you know, the energies, you know, was, look, it's funny, you know, when you're making a record and stuff like that's going on, especially like I live in America, so I live in New York, and, you know, we were in desperate need of something drastic happening. And then, you know, in the back of the mind, it was, even though I would watch Obama and I'd be completely moved by the things he was saying and really believed him for the first time, you know, believed somebody that was actually, you know, talking about changing things. I think we've been so beaten down by the last 8 years that it just felt like, I mean, I was getting to the point where it's like, okay, if this doesn't change, you know, I'm going to move my family to Europe or something. I don't know. I don't know if things are that much better here, but getting here and reading the papers. But so when it finally happened and we were next to the headquarters, it was, you know, it was quite exciting. And we were in Santa Barbara actually when the final votes came in. I think I almost had a heart attack, to be quite honest. I was like sitting there just feeling like on the edge of my chair. I felt really connected to it, which was nice, and unbelievable moment, you know, to actually see that change. And it actually gave me a lot of, I really sort of had suddenly a lot of faith and belief in people again, and just that you know, we do have the power to change something.
But as a singer, did you, I don't know, capture this energy and put this energy on your way to sing or something like that, or? Well,
I think you know, when you're singing, because it's something actually that's from your soul and heart, and you know, it's you are affected by things that happen in your life and around you, So it probably affected me on some level. I think I felt much better about like possibilities from friends and family and stuff like that that were really sort of struggling to keep their head above water, and just felt good, you know. But you know, there's lots of other things that I always throw into the mix. I mean, each song is different, so the song is sometimes written in a certain perspective, and by the time you actually get to sing it, really depends what's going on that day, you know.
How could you explain this space color, this stellar flavor of this album? It's amazing. It's deep space.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Ben Hillier and you know, the whole production team, Ferg and Luke, and we had a great team. It worked really well with this record. We just, you know, we seemed to all be working towards the same ends with it somehow, even though it wasn't something that was discussed. I mean, on a personal level, I spent a lot of time working with the songs before we even started recording, so I was very familiar with the melodies and lyrically and what I wanted to do with my voice. So I think that also my own writing, I think getting better, you know, for me anyway, it gave me more confidence. It felt like it was a real sort of combined effort. And even though Martin, you know, I couldn't possibly claim to be at any kind of level of his body of work in terms of writing, his input on the songs that I had written as well was really, you know, great. And that's what I always try and do with the songs that he gives me. You know, I'm going to try and put a spin on them that makes them somehow, I don't know, makes other people believe in the sound. And for me, see, you know, and I'm a singer, so probably a little bit biased, but that always happens first and foremost with whatever voices it is I'm hearing. You know, whether it's Nick Cave or Johnny Cash or it's Sigur Rós and it's, you know, complete gibberish, there's still something in the voice that I'm completely drawn to. PJ Harvey, there's certain voices that, you know, Billie Holiday, that you just feel like that person's singing for you. They're singing personally with you, you know.
About the music.
Could you try and keep the paper down
sorry.
a little bit? You're
Okay.
fine, I'll just keep the paper down.
May I say it's a retro futuristic album? I mean, a bridge between the past and the present, the new Depeche Mode and the former Depeche Mode, or the old one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I always talk about that as well. That certain albums are that; they're exactly that. They are, you know, stepping stones to where you're trying to get. You don't really know that at the time when you're making the record. But you know, I think this one we sort of landed on whatever planet it was we were trying to get to, and it feels like we sort of got there somehow.
But did you listen to your former albums or something like that?
I rarely do that, but once we've finished, I feel like you've finished a body of work, and then you want to show the work, perform the work, and then move on. You know, sometimes references to it. You know, I recently played Violator, which I felt was really good, great piece of work, and you know, I also I'll play the last album that we made to see if we grew. You know, and I think we grew.
Is it true that Martin had an obsession about eBay and vintage synthesizer and all that stuff?
Yeah, that was good because, you know, it was quite inspiring to get a new instrument, open it up, not know what you're going to get, and then see if it would work. And most of the time work, and find some interesting sounds that quite often inspired like something with the song. There was one synthesizer in particular called the Steiner Parker, which we ended up calling the Colonel, like Elvis's manager, It was from the 70s, and it was just it's made such incredible sounds. And we use that quite a lot.
I read somewhere that you said, or a member of the band said, it's an antidote against current bubblegum pop, this album.
That wasn't me.
But what do you think about this quote?
It's an antidote against...
Against current bubblegum pop music.
I don't think we're really, you know, we never sort of see ourselves as trying to be sort of anti anything or doing anything like because something else is going on. I think we just do our own thing, you know. And after all these years, like 30 years nearly now, I feel much more comfortable in that, you know, Depeche Mode kind of does that. I think we used to struggle with that for years, like trying to sort of say, you know, well, we're relevant and we're this or whatever, but, you know, I don't think it really affects us, what's going on. I mean, it does affect record sales and stuff like that, but that's something we're not really aware of. I have no control over. You know, some records just happen to work in a certain time. You can't predict that. You don't know what that is or why that happens. Certain records are more successful than others. And you know, we don't really play that game, if you like. You know, you won't see us on every award show, you know, trying to promote what it is we're doing until you're sick to death of seeing us and hearing us. That for me, I get quite cynical about nowadays. And when I see, you know, current so-called, you know, big bands just milking it like to death, like it just like, I don't know. I think it's a lot of pressure that you do get. You know, believe me, we have the same pressure from record company and management and stuff like that. Like, you know, you should do this, you should do that, you should perform on this, and we're like, whoa, slow down. You know, we just finished the record.
All songs on this.
Sorry, last question.
Okay, all songs between in this album are between positivity and negativity, between softness and strength, between fetish and I don't know, new age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of you know, as most Depeche records, it's kind of like there's like 3 subjects that we sing about, and which takes in all those things on some level. You know, the fine line between, faith and, you know, not having it, and relationships and not having them. You know, wanting to be here and not really being here. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. It's a search, isn't it? It's a constant sort of internal search to want to feel connected to life.
So you didn't find the answers or the
Well,
keys?
I think we try and find it, you know, people try and find it in many ways, you know, through relationships, through sex, through drugs, alcohol, having more stuff, you know. We still sort of bash our heads against the wall with that stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to ever last.
Thank you.
All right.